Hello everybody, I'm Chan, and today I want to talk about how to click with someone and how to really understand how you can really click with someone, because a lot of times in relationships in these days, a lot of times one person is taking over the other person, and through this, a lot of times that is how abusive relationships are created. And I'm not only talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. This can go for any relationship, going from just a friend to a colleague to an acquaintance to, any sort of form of relationship where it's you and another person. I think it's very important that you have to understand how to click with someone in order for that relationship to really work. Because a lot of times we have our own problems and we're dealing with our own problems, and a lot of times what we do with pain, which is very common, a lot of people don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to face their pain, so what they end up doing is just pushing it to the side. But really what they're doing with that is just taking all of it, just pushing it down deep down inside their body, or pushing it back deep down inside their mind. And that's why a lot of people who went through childhood trauma, eventually, like 15, 20 years later, when they're in their 30s or 40s, their pain starts to come back for them, right? And that can affect their relationships. So, in a healthy relationship, both people have to connect with each other, and both people can connect with each other, right? But balance must be found for this connection. So what this means is that one must have as much rights as the other and as much freedom as the other. No person in the relationship is above anybody. And see, for a relationship, it doesn't matter what position you're in life, right? A relationship will always be a relationship. A relationship remains only a relationship, right? So if you have a bad relationship with a work colleague, just because they're above you in a certain position does not mean that they get to treat you like shit, right? That is not a healthy relationship, right? Just because the husband is a man and the wife is a woman does not mean that the man gets to treat the woman badly, just because he is the gender that typically gets looked at as the more powerful one, but still does not give him a right, right? So, relationships must have balance, and both people must receive equal rights and equal balance and equal love and equal freedom in order for this connection to really happen, And many people don't find this balance because that's how abusive relationships are created, right? Everybody's different. So clicking with someone can be very easy when you accept that everybody's different. But if you don't accept that everybody's different, right? A lot of times in abusive relationships, a lot of control is happening, right? One person is trying to control the other person. Why? Because they want you to be exactly like them. They don't like you for who you are. They don't accept you for who you are, right? So people who have narcissistic issues oftentimes have bad relationships because they put themselves so much on a pedestal that if nobody else is even a tad bit not like them and stands out, they get jealous because they realize that somebody is different, but they don't want it to be that way because they want to be the best and they want to be the only person getting praised. They always want to be the center of attention. That's what narcissists do, right? And that's how control is created, right? But that's not how healthy relationships are started, right? And if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, 9 times out of 10, that relationship will not be healthy. So in order to click with someone, you must click with yourself and love yourself and even love your pain. When you find someone who you resonate with, it doesn't mean that they'll be exactly the same person as you, right? And this ties back to what I was saying about everybody's different. Everybody's different, so just because you resonate with someone and feel love for someone, if you truly feel love for someone, true love is unconditional love, which means that the love is there no matter what, which means that if you truly love someone and resonate with them, you resonate with them no matter what. And that's how you truly click with someone, right? You deal with them and they'll deal with you, and that's how the connection is made. But if one person is dealing with the other person, but the other person is not able to deal with the other person, like you're dealing with them, but the abuser is not dealing with you, so all the time you're following what they say, but they never do what you say, how is that fair? So obviously that relationship will fail, right? So a lot of abusers and bad people have trauma, but trauma never gives you a reason to be a bad person, right? A lot of people who are abused in their childhood eventually turn into that abuser that was once their abuser, right? They were abused by their parents. They eventually turn into that parent front and act like that towards their own kid. So in order to click with someone, you have to click with yourself. You have to love yourself and even love your pain. Just because you're healing, from your pain, you're not fully recovered, doesn't mean that you can't have relationships. It's just that if you keep your pain inside you and all built down and hate yourself for it, then in relationships you will end up throwing your pain onto the other person, and your relationship will fail no matter what this relationship is, right? Because it can be for any relationship, like I said. Pain will always be pain, and relationships will always be relationships. Trauma will always be trauma. So there's no excuse for your pain and your own healing, right? Nobody else is the blame. It's your pain, and you're the one hating yourself for it, right? But if you embrace that pain and love your pain and don't hate yourself for it and think that, oh, I went through this, my life sucks, and accept your pain and start to heal, then in relationships you'll notice that now you're not gonna get triggered by other people who may remind you of your pain. Or even if you're in a healthy relationship, like you were abused your whole life, and now you find a healthy person to be a relationship with, oftentimes we perceive what's right is as wrong when we go through childhood trauma. So we resist and we actually want to suffer, and we go to a more suffering route a lot of times because we're stuck in the trauma. We're identifying with the trauma, and that's why people who are abused oftentimes turn into the abuser, right? So heal and accept your pain, right? There's no good excuse to be a bad person, right? And trauma will never make it right to be a bad person, because through trauma is an opportunity to heal, but through trauma is not an opportunity to be a bad person. You are basically letting the trauma take over then, right? Because that's not you. That's your trauma. But you have to choose to make the right choices. You can have an understanding of your pain, but your actions are what you choose from identifying and understanding and recognizing that pain. not everybody deserves a spot in your life, right? Some people can't be fixed. Some people can't just understand. Like in my last video, I was talking about psychopath, and psychopathic people, how these type of people don't have any remorse. They'll just hurt you and hurt you and hurt you, right? And a lot of times when we're in these type of relationships, a lot of times what we try to do is fix these type of people. But what you have to realize is that in these type of relationships, when you're trying to click with someone and they don't accept you for who you are, these types of people will try to change you. So if you're trying to change them, you're essentially doing exactly what they're trying to do, which will only create a clash and end up making the relationship fail. So certain people just can't be changed. Certain people just need to be let go of. Certain people you may try to click with, and if it has to be so forced, that relationship, any relationship that starts off with having to be forced, never ends up being good and healthy. Some relationships are just not meant to be. Some people are just not meant to be in your life, and that's okay, because there are plenty of other good people in life and better people in life. And you don't have to live with these people. You don't have to choose the route to suffer just because of your low self-esteem. That's not who you have to be, right? That's not what you deserve. Just because you went through trauma and all this BS doesn't mean that you deserve more trauma and more pain, right? Life can always be better. Life can always get better. And a lot of times, we don't have friends. Sometimes we don't have people. Sometimes we don't have people that we can click with. Me personally, I probably have 1 or 2 people in my life that I click with. And these type of people are not even my age. I'm 16. I have 0 friends who are my age, right? Because I just don't click with certain people. But the people I do click with, the love is unconditional. The love is free. I feel free. I don't have to force it. And I can truly express myself because both of the people in the relationship, me and the other person, are truly clicking and truly, like in therapy, are entering that intermediate space where we can truly connect and truly be open to each other and truly love each other for exactly who we are. There's no resistance, because when you love someone for who they truly are, no matter what they go through the lows and through the highs, your love will truly always be there for them, and vice versa. So if you don't have any people like this, it doesn't mean you're antisocial. Antisocial doesn't mean you have no friends. No, antisocial means that you are basically going against society's norms and being disruptive to society through an abnormal behavior, right? That's what antisocial really means. Just because you have no friends doesn't mean you have to be lonely. Sometimes having no people in your life can be the most peaceful times of your life. Sometimes it's good to be solitude. Sometimes it's good to be alone, right? Sometimes that can be the most healthiest choice, right? So if you have no friends, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily all alone, right? Some people are just meant to let go. Some people are just not meant to be in your life, and some will stay with you till the end. And those are really the people who will stay with you till the end, who stay with you even when you're at your lowest, even when you're very hard to be around. Those are the people you should be seeking, right? Because a lot of times when we get treated bad and we get used to being treated bad, that's the type of people we seek. That's why a lot of people who are in abusive relationships just stay in the relationship. You look at this from an external standpoint, see this person in an abusive relationship, and you're wondering why don't they notice? It's so obvious that they're in a terrible relationship, but they stay because they're adapting to suffering. So now their brain is adapted to doing what's wrong, and doing what's right has to be a breakthrough for them. They can't do it naturally, right? So essentially their brain is getting damaged and they're basically in a mindfuck, confusion. And that's what trauma can really do to you, especially within relationships. So a lot of times they need suffering to feel right. But essentially, that's wrong. So what's wrong becomes right, and what's right becomes wrong in an abusive relationship. So that's why a lot of people, it's very hard for them to understand what's going on because they can't identify the pain correctly, right? But really, to identify this pain correctly, you have to realize that what you're going through is not normal. It's not normal to be treated bad, to be treated with disrespect, to be always being judged in a negative way, being put down. Because 9 times out of 10, you're probably better than all these people who are putting you down. You probably deserve much more and probably can do much more than all these people who are putting you down. Because anybody who puts other people down hates themselves. They have their own problems themselves. So they're probably already fucked up themselves. Right? And they'll talk shit about stuff that you do that they will never probably be able to even do. Right? Just to fuck with you. So these people's main goal is to just take you down. Right? And essentially those type of people you can't click with. So how to click with someone is just to really recognize that there has to be balance, right? And also to notice that you have to find the right people, right? And it's okay to just have a couple friends, a couple people in your life. Not everybody has to be popular. Most of the time that causes more stress. So 1 to 2 people in your life is much more better than having millions or thousands of people in your life that you can connect with. Because relationships, true relationships, take time. And once you go through that time and truly find that connection, it's an amazing experience. So yeah, but that's it for the video. Subscribe, and I'm out.